Thank you so much to the Spa Life team for inviting me to speak today. It's a pleasure to be talking to you about one of my favorite subjects, which is communication. So today we're going to learn all about the art of communicative leadership. And I guess throughout my careers, I've had to really look at communication and how do I communicate towards my members now, towards my clients, but also when I was managing very large teams, understand that my communication needed to be really smooth because I'm going to interact with a lot of different people and a lot of different characters and people that are in the business in there for different reasons than yours. And I remember in the early days, 30 years ago, as a French woman, when I first came in and managed very large teams quite quickly in my career, I remember my clients both saying to me, Valerie, we need to start talking about your communication. You're a little bit too blunt. I don't know what she meant, but you also need to kind of understand that everyone is in here for different reasons. So if you come in all gun blazing, you're not going to engage the whole team. You're only going to engage the people that believe the same as you. So I guess communication was always in the part of what I needed to do as a leader. How do I communicate in order to engage everybody, but also give me less frustration in the communication skills? It's all about communicative leadership. So let's look at what is the communicative leadership. One of the most important soft skills that you will adopt today is communication as a leader. And why? Because it's empowering others. We know that too much communication actually is going to kill the communication. You're actually going to disengage the team because they're probably going to think, oh, here we go again. Here's another memo. Here's another email. Here's another WhatsApp group. So it's all about understanding that too much definitely kills the communication, but too little causes frustrations and misunderstanding from both ends, you as a leader, but also your team members. So how can we communicate better in order for you to be able to set the expectations and also build strong bonds? So when I set the expectation, I still do it now. If I've got half an hour meeting, I say straight away to the person that I talk to, I've got half an hour for you. Let's discuss what we're meant to do. So setting the expectation is probably one of the most important style of your communication. And by the way, this works on a personal level as much as on a professional level, because your communication will allow you to have more headspace to be also to be very much clear in where you want to go. 95% of the time we assume that the communication has been done properly. We assume that, well, I've said it to them, I've put it on the memo, well, I've given them as much as I could. So we keep assuming. And this quote, I had it on top of my desk, I had it with me at all time. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So we think we've communicated properly, but on the other hand, I keep repeating myself and I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but no one's listening, or there's always the same issue occurring. That's because we're assuming that the way we've communicated is the clearest way. And usually it's not. So your emotions are challenged. It can become very frustrating. You can even be angry about certain members of staff that are never ever engaged or are always making the same mistake. And most of all, when I meet clients, when I meet people, teams even, it's the repetition. Oh, I keep repeating myself. I keep saying the same thing. They're not listening. That repetition becomes very tiring, very difficult for your mindset, but also for the fact that you're trying to put a team from one place to another, and you can't because they are constantly you are constantly having to repeat yourself. The assumption is also a big emotion we have to deal with, but the confusion, it can be very confusing. And what I do when I go into a business, when I go into supporting the managers and look at the leadership aspect, is number one, communication. How do we communicate? Why do you feel you repeat yourself all the time? Why do you feel that you always have to have the same kind of way of communicating? Because so far it might not work as much as you think, because you're always getting the same difficulties. So for me, this is what my boss said to me. There are 5 ways to control your emotions. She said that to me because I was all gone blazing and I was answering very much straight away and I became frustrated and angry. So take a step back, really take a step back. Don't react or overreact to anything that's said to you, even in a negative way. Understand the business needs. If we know that the solution we are going to find to a particular problem is a solution that I'm going to be the best for the business, as much as for me as a manager, as much as for her as a team member, you will find that the solution becomes very business focused, not personal. It's not a personal opinion. It's not me telling you off all the time. It's actually, this is what the business needs. The minute you start thinking that way, the minute you take things far less personally. And I've put there, revisit your time management, because I strongly believe that time management is a second soft skill that I really strongly advise for you to take on. In particular, in 2021, it's been so challenged this year, and the time management have gone a little bit out of the window. So revisit your time management. I take this example of a nail technician. I remember coming into the spa, and this nail technician came to me and said, I need to speak to you today. I said, whoa, okay, it's not even 8 o'clock. I've not even had my coffee yet. What is it regarding? It's about my holiday. Okay, well, that can wait. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Let me think about it and I'll come back to you. So I'm setting up the expectation. I'm setting up as to when I can talk to you about what obviously is very important to you. But don't come into my time management because today I'm busy. So I'll put 15 minutes in the column, and I'll come back to you tomorrow, and we will discuss. Now, when I speak to her tomorrow on that 15 minutes, she's all that matters. I've got my eyes to eyes level. We are talking about her holiday, and we're finding that solution for the holidays that she's requesting. But all about the business needs. Once more, it goes back to that business needs. So I'm never personally attacking her. I'm never personally making sure that I'm awkward to her. It's all about that business need. So review your communication. And as I said, it's the first thing I do when I go into a business. Leadership, how do the leader functions between themselves, and what is the form of communication? If the communication is strong, you will find that you will feel so much better as a leader, because what you've set as expectation is definitely met. So today we're going to look at 3 areas of communication. Number 1 is your team communication, then your individual communication, and then it's the famous digital. Now, in my days, we didn't have digital and WhatsApp groups and, endless WhatsApp groups and all sorts of emails. Obviously, we had emails to some extent, but we didn't have Zoom. So Zoom is another form of communication that's fairly new to us. How do we engage in Zoom? It's a completely different skill set altogether. So if we start with the team meetings, so the team meetings, the frustration we have is the time. I don't always have the time. Maybe you've set them up, but actually you're on holiday that day. The engagement of the team, they're eating their croissant and they're just looking at you and they're not really engaged with you. Perhaps they're very repetitive. Every time I have a team meeting, I talk about the same thing over and over again. And it can be quite negative, a ground for negativity. I call it power to the people. We really are here as a group to tell you we're not happy with this. So it becomes very, very negative. And the biggest challenge we perhaps have at the moment is for sure the whole flexi furlough. People are not always there. You can't always have the communication between you, the team meeting between you. So how do we get over that? How can we make sure that they're still happening and we still engage everybody within the team? To me, absolutely viewing the whole team meeting in a training ground mindset. So for me, a team meeting is going to be able to train you as a team. So I used to do 15 minutes of figures of what happened last month on marketing, the results, celebrating the wins. Well done, this person, well done, that person, and maybe flowers and a nice little breakfast. So we are all in a really good mindset when it comes to that kind of empowering 15 minutes. But then it's about 30 minutes of training. It depends on how long you want to do your team meeting. Maybe you want to do it for 2 hours, but in which case that training will become a whole hour of training. and then 15 minutes of what to focus on for the following months. Now, I used to do the 15 minutes at the beginning, I used to do the 15 minutes at the end, but in the middle, that training would be taken on board by either an outside person, by one of my managers, but also by the team. And if I know what I want to do throughout the year, I can delegate, right? So you are going to talk about consultation in January, you will be in February on how to retell to the best to your clients. You are amazing at massages. You're going to teach us a few things in March. So basically they get involved and it's more of a training ground. It's not just you. I realize they don't just want to see me standing there talking with my clipboard. It's not going to be impactful. It's going to be actually very, very repetitive. So it is a training ground, but the key to your team meeting is they have to be secured in your diary throughout the years, otherwise they will not happen. So right now, take 2021 and input your team meeting, whether they're going to happen face to face, whether they're going to happen on Zoom, they are in the diary and we're not moving them. Even if you're on holiday, they happen because they don't just rely on you. They rely on the whole team effort. Really, really important. And I avoid every type of negativity on team meeting. I acknowledge the problem. So you're telling me there's a problem with room 5 all the time. Let me acknowledge that. Okay, I understand. But let me think about it. I'm going to come back to you about this situation because I don't want it to be starting this whole war or this underlying negative kind of communication in a team meeting. I'm going to come back. The negative issues are always discussed on an individual level. Do you know why? Because on an individual level, there is less of a less back chats. You know, we're not as powerful as when we are in a group. And on an individual level, eyes to eyes, is that verbal contract. So they buy into what your solution is far more than if in a team meeting. So we're going to avoid all sorts of negativity. So the key for me is that I want them to be fun. I want the team meeting to be themed. Perhaps we're going to do a whole massage focus in March. We're going to do in April, we're going to focus on the retail element. In June, we're going to, so you have a themed kind of a meeting throughout the year, and actually you get your team to progress with what you want them to achieve, and that's so important. Then when we look at the team meeting, it's all about the business needs. You know, avoid personal opinions. It's all about that business needs. Well, the room 5 is always dirty, I understand, and this is not great for the business, but I'm not going to tell you who does it. I probably know who does room 5 and the messiness in room 5, but I'm not going to give my personal opinion because it's always about the business needs. And it's all about finding a solution. So your mindset as a leader becomes solution finding mindset. And we are going to deliver best practice from the issue that's occurred. We're going to deliver best practice. And we're going to go through the minutes with the absentees. That's so important. So anyone who's got teams that are part-time or teams that you find are never there at the team meeting because it's their day off, when they come back into the business, I used to get my managers to go through the team meeting minutes. So then they know exactly what's been discussed. But it's a face-to-face meeting. It's not on an email. Here's a memo. Here's the minutes from the team meeting. It is a face-to-face meeting, and we go through everything with them. Such an important, and we're going to be flexible in the way we're approaching things because, again, yes, it's not my personal opinion, but perhaps I know and I feel that actually room 5, maybe we're going to do a much more of a focus for the next months, and that's my personal opinion. So of course I need to find solutions that are my personal opinion, but remember, when you talk about it to your team, it's about the business needs. Therefore they can't argue that it's not you being difficult, it's about that business and the needs that it has. So the key to me when it comes to the team meetings is that it's all about delegation. Why? Because again, delegation is a soft skill. It's a soft skill where you can adapt the fact that you're trusting others to empower others. It's not just you, it becomes from the others. You know, all the ideas of team meetings becoming a training ground with different people being interactive in there. Perhaps you've got an outsider coming in, talking about their products. So it's all very much in empowering others to feel that they are engaging others as well. It's not just down to you. It really is, and it's part of what you are wanting to achieve by the end of the year. And that delegation, that empowerment of the team, they might be nervous talking in front of everyone. That's why I like to pair them together so they feel a little bit less nervous about it. But it's a little project for them, and it actually sets them as perhaps that special person who knows how to do that consultation or who knows how to do the most amazing massage. So it empowers them so much more. And it's just about that engagement. So remember that team meetings are crucial to the business. They are there to stay. No matter if you're on holiday, they're still going to happen. And that's why, because you've got other people being delegated to empower those meetings. So we're going to look at the individual meetings and the frustration when it comes to individual meeting. Again, it goes back to your time. It goes back to the engagement. They just sit there. They're just looking at me. There's no engagement from them, or it's always the same person that's engaged with me. It can become very repetitive. I don't know what to talk about. We're always talking about the same thing and the figures, but they're still not doing that well. So it can become very repetitive and also very unfocused. And you find them a little bit passive in that meeting. So you have them because you know they're important perhaps, but they're not as engaging as you want them to do. Now, as you want them to be. Now, for me, it's very important to stop spoon feeding. And I keep saying that to everyone that wants to hear me. Stop spoon feeding. You know why you're having the individual meeting. Maybe there's an issue with that person. So anyone that follows me will know that I talk about Flossie. Flossie is your difficult staff member, the one that's just, you know, a little bit hard work and a little bit emotionally driven. So if I have an issue with Flossie, I'm not going to sit here and say to her, look, I've got an issue with how late you are all the time, because that's just going to be her being told off. And it's going to go from one ear out of the other, and she won't care as much because you've not engaged her into that conversation. So any meeting I have, any individual meeting I have, I'm not going to spoon feed you the information. I'm not going to spoon feed you the solution, because I know the solution. I know exactly what I want as a leader, but I'm going to make you understand why it's becoming an issue. So ask about 3 or 4 questions. You know, why do you think this is a difficult situation? So how do you think this is going to affect your relationship with your team? So why do you think this will have consequences? You know, how do you manage your morning for you to be always late? Tell me what happens in the morning. You know, when do you feel this attitude has started? I'm asking questions, the what, the how, the when, because the more I engage her by talking, that team member by talking, the more I engage them, the more I will become powerful in the solution that we will be finding together. If I give her the solution straight away, I'm spoon feeding her, and I guarantee you in a month's time, she will not care. Now, if that attitude carries on, then it's a different individual meeting. Eventually, we're probably going to go through performance management. And, you know, I have a say, I'm going to tell you once, I'm going to tell you twice. And by the 3rd time, I'm not your babysitter. We're going to look at performance management. But on the first meeting that I have with that person, they are going to be solution finding mindset. They're going to be through, okay, let's find a solution to this issue. Why do you think you're always late? What happens in the morning? How many alarms do you have? We're going to talk together and find a solution together. So I'm engaging her more, and I'm making sure that we find that solution. Now, if she carries on, as I said, 1, 2, 3, and then we're looking at performance management. And I keep saying to my staff members, I'm not your babysitter, but I'm going to make you really engage in what I want to happen into the business. Now, this is the best hot dog I could find online, but we're looking at the hot dog communication. Some people call it a very different sandwich. Whatever you call it, it's all about finding the positive first, looking at the negative afterwards, and really talking about that, finding solutions together, and finishing by a positive. So I remember I had managers telling me, Valerie, I don't know what to say to her. She's been a Flossie for so long, and, you know, I have nothing positive to say to her. Actually, there is always something positive to say to somebody. Perhaps that positivity looks at, look, Flossie, I think your reviews are amazing. We've just had another 3 and they've been incredible. And to be fair, Flossies are usually very, very good performing staff members. That's the issue with Flossie. They can become Flossie because they're so good at what they're doing. So we're going to find a positive, because if I start in the meeting with a negative, right, I'm not happy with this and you have done X, Y, and Z, you're already instantly making her very tense and she's never going to really talk to you, and she's going to be perhaps passive aggressive in her answers. So I'm going to disarm her from really straight away. Flossie, look, I think you're an amazing team member. You've got some incredibly strong points of view. For example, your reviews keep being extremely positive. I'm so proud of that from you. However, we need to discuss the fact that your room 5 is constantly messy. So what solution are we going to find together? How can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? What do you think it will have as an impact for the team? How do you think they're going to feel? So we engage and we're finding solution together. Right, I'm so happy with the position, the conversation we've had today, our first conversation, and let's really move forward. So I finish by a positive. So it's your hot dog communication. Again, I actually used to say to everybody that was coming on board into as a team member, I used to say, look, I'm going to really work around the 3 strikes. You know, I'm going to tell you once, twice, but after 3 times, you need to start really looking, showing me that you are engaged and you know what I want you to do. So it's very, very important to kind of look at it as, you know, you're finding the solution together, but you want them to work towards that solution. And this is one of my favorite rule of thumb. We use that absolutely everywhere when we do the retail and reception training to get the team to understand. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you have told them. It's all about installing a new belief that is going to take 3 interactions, and to replace an old belief is about 7 interactions. So if you think about that, repetition is normal. You will repeat yourself as a leader for sure. Repetition as a leader is normal. However, if it keeps being the same mistake, the same issues and everything else, how long do you allow it for it to happen? This is why I'm going to tell you once, twice, or 3 times. That's my way of working. But it's important to understand that the new belief or what you want them to do is going to be a little bit of repetition for it to be installed, for it to be part of the culture and to be part of what you do. And I love communication. I love to really realize that actually the words that I use are going to have an effect on certain people. It's bound to. For example, the word no or the word worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I wasn't worried in the first place. Now you're telling me don't worry. I feel like I need to be worried about something. You know, oh, I hope you never do that again. That again is a bit of a personal opinion, because I hope this is not going to happen. Actually, it's quite negative. The word obviously this is not what we want. It's actually quite demeaning and not really great. Honestly is another one. Well, I honestly feel that this is that way. Again, it's in a personal opinion and it becomes a little bit demeaning. So anything to do with the don't, the no, the problem, the never, all of these are very negative words that has an impact, where the staff member in front of you will feel, actually, this is a personal attack to me. But remember, if we think about the business needs, then it's never a personal attack to you. It's just your behavior need to be altered a little bit to understand how we can move forward. Sometimes that behavior, actually, they had a point, and I'm going to listen to what they say, because actually you do have a point. Maybe we look at best practice to make it better. So it's all about positive reinforcement. We look at thank you so much, thank you. Now we're going to do that. Listen, you told me this was an issue. I have thought about it. I've looked into the business needs. And yes, I think you're right. Thank you so much for this. We really are going to look at this best practice for you. Look, this is a new thing we've implemented because of you. All of these words are quite powerful. The now, that instantly going to do that for you. And the word that we love, and actually we love it when we do retail training, is the word imagine. Imagine is actually, imagine if you achieved your target by the end of the month. Imagine how you're going to feel, because you're projecting the staff member into imagine how you're going to feel. How do you feel when you sell something? Imagine how you feel when you've achieved those targets. all of those words are very, very, very positive. This is perfect for you. I recommend you do this because you've mentioned that. So it's all about the engagement through those positive words that make a huge difference to your communication to your staff member. Another big, big, big element of your individual meeting is where they are set. And that is because of the body language. Now, if you don't know me, please get the book. It's available on Amazon. It's called Drop the Pink Elephant by Bill McFarlane. In Drop the Pink Elephant, it talks about communication being basically 55% of the communication on body language. So if we think about that, that means where I set the meeting is going to have an impact. If I want to be really formal, I've had 3 conversations, I'm going to really look at performance management, I'm going to be behind my desk and she'll be, there'll be a desk between us. So there'll be a barrier and my hand are closed. And I'm actually quite formal now because I've told you 3 times and we found the solution and you've still not done it. So now I'm a little bit more annoyed. So the body language is a bit more closed. But at the beginning, that first conversation, when I want to engage that person, it's going to be very open. Perhaps I'm doing it in my open office. Perhaps I'm going to be doing it in a cafe somewhere where we're sitting down in a sofa somewhere together. So it's much more open, much more engaging. My palms are open. I'm much more engaged into what you're saying. This book, Drop the Pink Elephant, has been definitely an element of me realizing that the way I communicate and the words I use are extremely important. So do continue that soft skill with learning as much as you can on communication. So then when we talk about digital, my favorite, there are a lot of frustrations here. I'm going to sound all, in my days, we just didn't have digital in the way we're having it now. But I do find digital communication sometimes very intrusive. If I'm on a day off as a team member and I'm receiving loads of things on the WhatsApp group, do I feel really comfortable? Do I feel like I can switch off? I don't. So am I going to be engaged? Not really. I have seen and been part of some, WhatsApp group where actually the communication is quite aggressive and sometimes very passive aggressive, which is probably even worse. The culture is very much around, well, I've sent them an email. Well, I've done it on a memo. Well, I've put it on the WhatsApp group. But it's not really effective communication. Just like when you're doing a communication in passing, at the lunch hour. Oh, by the way, I need you to do that. That's not communication. That's just telling someone. So we've got to be very, very careful because on that sense, not only the way we're handling the communication, but the way we're communicating on the digital, again, you're assuming again and again, and you're always going to engage the same people, and that's that. So the WhatsApp communication, I can't say is my favorite at all. And a lot of time when I've seen teams that are very disengaged, very demotivated, I look at the WhatsApp groups, I'm like, whoa, I wouldn't be engaged if I was a team member. So we need to look at the WhatsApp group to be more of a confirmation of what you've already discussed, more than, right, so I've had enough of room 5 being a mess and we need to do X, Y, and Z. That's not going to work. If I've had enough of room 5 being a mess, I'm going to acknowledge it perhaps at a team meeting. I'm going to talk about it on a one-to-one meeting, and I will give them the solution on another team meeting or perhaps on the WhatsApp, but I have to think, is this relevant right now? Because if you're on a day off, you might not even scroll down the messages. For me, WhatsApp is about celebrating the wins. It's about that team building. It's about marketing activities. It's about great reviews. It's empowering. If it's becoming a negative ground of attacks, of passive aggressiveness, you will find that you're engaging only the same people. And that becomes going back to frustration and anger and everything else because, well, I've said it, and you feel you're always saying the same thing. So be careful with your WhatsApp communication. And to me, the key is that if I want to say something, okay, so I've discussed with everyone the situation with room 5. So we found the solution that we are going to have the cleaner coming in earlier to deal with that room, etc. Please acknowledge this message. So they acknowledge, but you monitor that they have acknowledged. Because if it's always the same person that does not acknowledge, you can then do something about it and have that individual meeting on how she functions, and is there a problem? Is she becoming a flossy? So you acknowledge and you monitor, you get them to acknowledge your communication, and you get them and you monitor that communication. Very, very important. Then we go on to the emails. To me, I've seen so many businesses, and I've dealt with hotels, for example, where it's an email cultures. We are going to put as many emails as possible in there, and I've put it on the email. So it's out of my head because I've put it on an email, I've sent it to people, and that's it. To me, an email is purely there to confirm what you've already discussed, either on a team meeting or on an individual meeting. That's it. And they're going to leave a trail for you. They're only going to be there because you possibly want to manage the situation down the line, but they're not here to give the first communication in any way, shape, or form. The key to the email communication is very much a management tool. They manage and they deliver best practice in the long term. If you are starting the communication through the process of email, you will feel very, very frustrated because they're very formal in some respect, and it can become quite heavy on the team. So they are here to deliver best practice. That's it. And then we've got the Zoom communication, one of my favorite, obviously, because this year we've been plunged into the world of Zoom. Suddenly we have a tool that is excellent, absolutely brilliant, but my God, so many things can go wrong, isn't it? And again, do you feel a bit like your team meeting? Do you feel like it's you talking and the team sitting there, maybe eating their tea and biscuits, in front of you, maybe not as engaged as you want them to be? You might be doing one and no one's writing anything. So you're thinking, oh, I've lost them. So the key to Zoom, there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is prepare the meeting, just like you prepare the team meeting. What is the theme? What is the agenda of the meeting? And look at a background choice. There's so many background you can do on Zoom. There's a really cool kind of a sea going on. You've got actual background on Zoom that's kind of, you could even do your own. You can even do your own branded background, which it elevates your brand even more. So in terms of the background choice is very important. And I was reading somewhere that when you do Zoom, you're a little bit worried of what's going on at the back and in between, etc. So you're constantly not only engaging through the power of the camera, but also trying to, fingers crossed, nothing's going wrong in the meantime. So the backgrounds are actually really, really good to use because they allow you to be more focused on that present moment. And I quite like, a bit like the team meeting, to make sure that everyone brings in something to the meeting. So, okay, so we're going to talk about retail, and I would like us to all bring something into that subject matter, and you're all going to have 5 minutes to discuss it. So they have to prepare, they have to think about it, they have to engage the others. And again, it's not just you talking, it's them being engaged into that team meeting. And again, I take all of my notes that I've made throughout that team meeting, that Zoom, and I confirm, dear lovely team, it was so lovely to see you. This is what we can confirm from the meeting we've just had. That email confirms that we've done this, because again, I keep that. And if there's someone that I need to manage, I will go back to her and say, actually, on that day, we have discussed X, Y, and Z. So I've got it on my notes and it's there, and I've got it on my email. So it's purely to confirm that that meeting has taken place. So the key to Zoom, really, for me, again, like the team meeting, it's a team effort because it's so much more engaging. And we're going to find solutions together. We're going to make sure that we have got the solution to what we want to happen within the business. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you are keen to learn a little bit more, you can follow us at the Delforge group. I do one-to-one leadership coaching. We've got a huge intensive online course happening in January 2021. And also I'm doing membership programs with the Delforge group. And you can contact us at support@thedelforgegroup.co.uk. So I'd like to thank you all for your time. I'm now going to hand you over to the fabulous SPAx team and answer all of the questions that you might have after this presentation.